Hey guys, welcome back. So I wanted to finish one more leaf with you since the last video was a little short. I wanted to do one more of the leaves really quick. Let me zoom in for you on the colors. It's the same colors as before for the leaf. 1012, 1034, 911, 915, white, and 1099. The same exact colors I used before. And you should have went over most of your leaves, if not all of them. And then I did some of the stem work with you, so you should have finished your stem work as well. And then we will cut over into working on the background. So I've got those colors picked out so we can cut into those backgrounds. Okay, so the last flower leaf, I have saved to do with you guys is this one. Let me zoom in a little bit more. You guys, some more visual there. Now, you can see I did several of the leaves here. And now if you take a really good look, you'll notice on the different leaves, no two is exactly the same. And that is because of the colors I chose. So you can see how you can, with those, just those few colors, you can actually go a little more gold, a little more green, a little more yellow. It really depends on what you want and where you want those colors. You can add a little white here and there if you like. It's really up to you. And I think it just works really well with these gooseberries. Now, again, if you want to do a bright green leaf with these gooseberries or a dark green leaf, you certainly can. I've saw different plants and different colored berries with different leaves. I just thought this leaf worked really well. So, I already laid in the 1012, which is a very light coat of the jasmine. So you can kind of see that light tint that I already put down here, like I showed you in the first video. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my next color, which is 1034. And just like in the first video, I'm just going to follow from that inner vein. And I'm going to put a light layer where I want the 1034 from working from that inside vein on that center line, and a light coat working the way out. Now, if you want this leaf to look a little bit more on the dark side, just put a heavier coat of that gold in there. But I'm keeping it light because I want this leaf to be a little bit lighter. So I don't want to go real heavy here. And when I lay in that green, I don't want that green to be heavy either. So I'm going to make sure to try to keep my colors light. So again, I'm going to work this leaf on a very light note, because this one to me seems to be in the most direct light on the page. So I want this one to be of the lightest colors. I guess the brightest of the bunch. Like it's getting the most direct sun and it's being baked in the summer sun. Or if it's fall and the berries are ripe and the leaves are starting to die back, this could be its end of life or changing of the season color. If you're doing a fall palette, it could go either way. And I'm going to get up in that tight little corner here just a little bit, because you see how right up here at the top, you're up against that green on that berry. So I want to work that gold next to it. But I don't want it too dark there. So I want to work my yellows up next to that golden, or that green and gold on that berry. And Gretel's got the zoomies. I can hear her ripping around here. Oh, this kitten of mine. She's not even really a kitten anymore. She's going to be 2. But she still acts like a kitten. She's so full of... I don't know what she's full of. She's full of something. Monster child. She's full of that Siamese heathen. Anyways, So I'm just going to go through each one of those individual little sections on this leaf. And I'm going to fill this gold color in here. I was watching some different people's videos today on YouTube. And it amazes me at some of the things that people can do with colored pencil. Especially some of these sketch artists. I'm like, wow, I absolutely am a horrific drawing person. My stick people look ill. It's quite comical. And I know people say, oh, just apply yourself, take an art class. No, I've done all that. I'm not the artist drawing type. I'm more the sit down and put color to paper type. I'm really not a person. I mean, if you give me a semi-sketch on a piece of paper, I could turn it into a picture. But I can't even put down a half a sketch and make it look normal. If I was just to put a graphite pencil to it, no way. That is just not going to happen. I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. I just don't have that visual, I think is what it is. Where some people have that visual, I just can't see that visual in my head with the graphic or the graphite pencils, but I can see the colors. So it's a big deal that I don't see that. I see everything in color. I don't see black and white. So some people have it, some people don't. I don't have it. Okay, now I've got my 911 here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start at the bottom here where it's the darkest. But I am going to lay in that light line on my vein because I will come back with my 1099, that espresso. And I will go over my vein with that to make that dark vein stand out. But I just want to lay it in here so I know where my lines are, so they don't get lost as I'm going along. And this is a good color to do a light line on because it'll blend in really easily with the 1099. And if you don't do a heavy coat or a thick, wide line, you won't have to worry about having overkill of this color here. So you can see I just lightly put that in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a light layer of this green right at the inside line, right in the little corners. And again, I'm keeping this light because I can always come back and add more of this green in. And I want this leaf to be the lighter of all my leaves. Again, because I believe this to be the one that's going to have the most light on it or the most fading in the sun. So my darker portions will be towards the base of the leaf here and in the corners. So I just want to get a little bit, but not a whole lot. Just enough color to give it some play, but not enough that I'm going to actually make it have that deep dark color. On the bottom here, where it's the base of the leaf, I'll put a little more of that green in. But for the rest of it, I want this lighter. And I saved this one just to do with you guys. Oops, I got a little heavy right there. So I'll have to work that a little bit more when I put in some more of my yellows. Okay. I did get a little heavy right there. That's okay. But that also makes the leaf look imperfect because nature is not perfect. All right. I think that's good for the little bit of green right now. Now I'm going to come in with my lemon yellow. And I'm going to start up here at the top. Hopefully you guys can still see what I'm doing. And starting with that dark green, I'm just going to blend it. Small, light circles. I'm not going heavy because I'm not burnishing. I'm just going to kind of pull that color up a little bit. So I'm working the jasmine. I'm working that green. And I'm adding in some of that canary. Or excuse me, that lemon yellow. Canary on the brain. So I'm kind of blending all three of these colors, but I'm still leaving a little bit of that white edge. So you can see how this leaf is, I'll do a couple more. It'll probably show up better. It'll be a little bit of a brighter and more golden tone to the leaf here, but you'll still see that bit of that green. Ooh, I missed that little section, but that's okay. I can come back and add some green in there. Still looks good even without it. I missed that little bit of green in there. That's all right. Okay. Again, I'm just using a really light hand. I don't want to add too much because I want to build up my layers. But I want to get a nice little coat on there. So I can come back in with more of my jasmine or my gold, whichever one I think I need to put more on. And of course, if you want to add more green, you can. But I think this one is going to be the one where I want the most golden color to it. And this is the part where I put a little more green than I wanted to. So I might have to work at this a little harder to get that more golden tone that I want. And blending just, you know, sometimes it takes just patience. You just got to keep working it. And that's why I say light layers, because you can always come and add more color. It's easier to add than it is to take away, especially when you're working with dark and light colors. But yeah, I saw some really neat stuff on YouTube today. Some really great artists out there, and I'm like, wow. I'm impressed. Okay, where is my... Okay, there it is. My 1034, which is my golden color. I'm going to put a little more in some of these sections where I want just a hint more of that 1034, I think. So I'm going to add just a little more in some of these areas. Especially on this one because I put a little more green in there than I liked. So I'm going to kind of try to work that green a little bit. Now watch this be a little more gold than I like. And then I'll end up overworking that color. Of course I will. I'm just going to kind of build up a little bit of this gold tone in each little section. And then I'm going to come in over it with my jasmine. And that should mellow it out just enough. Hopefully, to give it that tone I'm looking for. With these few colors. It's definitely a different kind of blend. It's got that, I get like a grape leaf vibe from it. but I also get like a late summer, early fall vibe. Okay, now I'm going to grab my jasmine. I think I'm going to start down here. And I'm lightly working with that green and that golden. And I'm just going to mix these colors, bringing it up to the tip there. Now it's starting to give me that creamy, golden, peachy, green, orange color I'm after. But it's not so green, it's not so bright. And you can still see I got a nice little bit of white on the edge. Just around some of my edges. In this little section here, I still got a little too much green, but I'm not going to overwork it. Otherwise, it'll look really icky. I'm just going to let it slide and pretend I did it on purpose. Okay. I'm going to get up here at this tip because that's going to be the lightest area. Now, I know some of you might not really like this color, but that's all right. It's just something different. It's something to play on. And it's easy to add. You could even add bronze to this. You could add gold to this. You could add different greens to this one. And play on these yellows. And really give this leaf something different. You can add different oranges, even touches of red. So if you were to throw in just some oranges to this, or just some reds with these yellows, that will give you those orange tones. It will really make this leaf look really cool. So again, I'm going to take my golden color, and I'm going to come in here at the bottom, just in the corners. That's all I'm going to do is hit some of these little corners. And you can see it's darkening up some of these corners and some of these edges. It's giving it that more golden appearance. Move my hand here just a second. You'll be able to see it better. See, it darkened up just in the corners there where I want it. I'm not going real heavy. Just going to give it just a little hint. And there's less green in this one. Now, my last color is that lemon yellow. And I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to give that one final blend. Mixing that orange. And I'm still leaving that little bit of white on some of my tips. Because I'm going to drag my white pencil in here. And I'm going to hit those edges with a little just burst of white on some, but not all. So you can see I didn't go all the way down to where the vein is. I just kind of midpoint and blended that gold in a little bit better. And now you can see why I said when you add that little bit of a vein line in there, even with your green pencil, because it gets lost as you're blending. So you don't lose track of where your blending lines are. It's easy to lose your sections by losing those lines. Now she's over here playing under the blanket. Okay, so let me grab my white pencil here. And I'm going to come in around the tip here. I know it's hard to see on camera, but it does pop out. And I'm going to hit some of these edges that I think are going to have the most exposure to light. And right here, around where it touches on this gooseberry right around there, okay? And then these right here, just these little top bits. Okay, now I'm going to take my 1099 and I'm going to do my line, my vein line. And I'm still not pressing heavy because it'll glide right over all those layers now. You should feel a really smooth coat as you go over those layers that are already there. You should really feel the buildup of the layers that you've put down. So basically, you shouldn't feel too much of the grain of the paper. You should feel really smooth. And I'm just following the lines that the artist has already laid in. So that's all I've done here. She has put those lines in and I am just copying what she already has. I'm not changing anything because I think what she's done is perfect enough. And that means I don't have to draw. It makes my life less complicated. So now you get a more golden leaf. So you see this one's a little darker and some of these up here are a little more green and this one is a little brighter. So that gives you an idea of how, just with the colors we worked with on all of them, how easy it is to go from dark to light just with using the same colors. Now again, if you were to take like cadmium orange hue, which is your 118, and use that instead of your 1034 and add your orange in there with that yellow, or add 921 with your yellow and throw that red in there. That red mixed with that yellow is going to give it that orange hue and it's going to give it more of a fall feel. It's going to change those two colors just enough. Blending them together is really going to make it look vibrant and pop out. So there's really a lot of things you can do. Okay, so moving right along here, I want to show you the two colors I picked for our background. Something really vibrant, totally different. I picked 926 and 921. So that is your carmine red and your pale vermilion. So both are in like the red and the red orange family, like the pinky red. So these are the two I'm going to start with. And of course, in the very end, we will come back and do the dark detail lines. So let's get started on this background. And as always, I'm going to start with my darker color and I'm going to work my way outward. And I'm going to start at the top so I'm not running my hand down my paper. You know, if you're one that likes to start at the bottom and work your way up, you can do that. But I tend to do this. So I'm going to start up here. And I like to use a sharp tip so that I do not have any issues. Now, be very careful and use a light hand because you're using a bright color around pale colors. You want to try not to create too much dust, and you want to get a seamless blend with these two colors. The goal is not to create a shadow here, but you want to have a nice seamless contrast between dark and light. So I'm going to lay in, I guess, my base color first, where I'm going to put my darkest color. Because some areas I'm going to put a little more dark in. And this is just my method. Use whatever method you like. I just do it this way. I just kind of eyeball where I'm going to start and I go for it. If it makes any sense. I'm kind of all over, but when I do this, I have an idea of where I'm going to kind of lay in some of my darker areas and then work my colors to blend them together. Everybody has a way of doing it. Sometimes I use like my chalk pastels for backgrounds because it goes so much quicker. But chalk pastels can be very messy. I'm going to get in this little spot right there. If you've never worked with chalk pastels, I'm not talking about the chalk pastel pencils. I'm talking about the sticks, the soft pastels. They can be like a dust monster. So I like to do it with parchment paper, wax paper underneath, and then even paper towels, because it can create a lot of dust. And I use these old antique paint scrapers to scrape my chalk pastels. So I like to scrape the dust onto my paper and then move it around with cotton cloth to build up my color. So as you see what I'm doing here, I'm getting in between these two berries with that dark color. And I'm just going to build my layer up in here because this is just going to remain a nice darker color in the middle here. I'm going to use that 926. I may go over it with the 921 just to make it really pop off, but we'll see how this goes. Because again, this is really grainy paper. I don't know what paper you're using, but this will take a lot of layers. So even just a couple layers I've put down already, I can still see the white in my paper. Okay. Trying to get in between some of these really tight spaces here. All right. It's kind of tricky. I'm going to go back up to the top. You can see I'm putting a heavier layer in, and I come out with a lighter layer. Because I want to blend these two colors as I'm working. I don't want that sharp line. And I don't want to create a lot of dust. I have a little brush pencil, so that'll come in handy if I start getting too much of a wax bloom. I could just brush it off, but in this instance, I'll probably just blow it off because I don't want to use my brush over those light colors, because you'll just brush that red right into your yellow. That's the only downfall about using bright colors next to light colors. And if you do your background first, I guarantee you'll run your hand right over your bright colors into your dark into your light when you're doing your coloring. I've seen it. I've done it, even accidentally. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Okay. Here's where it gets fun. I never try to make really an even line of color. I just kind of go for it and see how it pans out. I try to get an even line of color like around this side, and then maybe up this way. So if if I have a leaf that the tip starts here, I'm going to say, okay, so let's work this more on a darker. Let me get in here. My tip is really sharp, so work around this edge really quick to kind of mellow out my tip. Okay. Wow, that is really sharp. Let me get around my edge. Trying to burn that tip down just a little bit. Okay. So if I have like right in here, I've got this about right there point. Just right above the tip, I start to leave a nice light line. That way, that's kind of my line right here. where I want to start adding that lighter color. And I'll just kind of pull that color around. This is my 926. So you can see I'm just really lightly putting a nice shade down. And I'm leaving that space of white up here because I want to kind of give a, I don't know, a gap. So I'm giving my darker lined area, but I'm still leaving kind of an even space for my final border of the lighter color. But I want to make sure I have a nice seamless blend. So again, I'm just going to work this color all the way around the whole entire design. Again, with my darker colors in the center here and around the edges. Just building up those layers. And I find, again, that's the best way to do it, is to just build your layers and work them out. And you can see by my sharp tip, I am, again, not using heavy pressure. And it's so funny because I watch other people. And when I say light touch, and I think I'm using a light touch, and then I see other people who say light touch who are far better colorists or they're professional sketch artists, and they say light touch, and I'm watching them do a light touch, and I'm like, are you even putting color on the paper? It is, their light touch is extremely light compared to mine. So even I learn stuff where I think, wow, that's a crazy light touch. But it's amazing how much of a light touch you can really put color on the paper with just feather touch. It doesn't take much. And it's quite impressive to watch some of these artists that can just simply go along and barely touch their pencil to paper, and they create these amazing works of art. It's like, wow, I wish I could do that. It's quite impressive. My dad can draw. I just can't. I didn't get that cool gene. I can do other things though, but that just wasn't in the cards for me. And that's all right. I got other talents. I got the gift of gab. How about that? Okay, now I'm going to come around down here very carefully. And believe it or not, I am using little circles. I know it probably looks like I'm not, but I am. And again, I'm leaving that border. And I'm going to try to keep an even border as much as I can. On each side, I'm going to try to make it the same width. Not so much when I'm putting the dark color next to on the inside here. But I do want to get an even blend if possible. So that's why I'm trying to be really gentle. I don't want to put too much dark on these outer bits here. But this color really lays in color really easy, so I'm trying to be gentle with my heavy little paws here today. I don't know why I'm being such a pressure monster today. But I am for some reason. That's why you notice I moved my hand down my pencil so I quit pushing so hard. Maybe I'm just feeling aggressive. I don't know. Maybe it's in my mood. My demeanor today is feeling aggressive. My body language or something. Even though I'm not. My hands are. Maybe it's the way I'm sitting. Not sure. Okay, so I'm just going over a few spots here you can see. Again, I'm just lightly, carefully trying to keep in tune. I don't want to put too much. But I'm going to rotate this here just a bit because I want to get a little more right in here. Right underneath and around these edges, I want to get a little more of that bright red color. This beautiful crimson. I just thought this with those golden yellow leaves and the berries, it would really kind of bring it out. Since I put a little bit of that red into those berries, I thought this would really make it pop out. Yeah? And with those light leaves, this would be a good contrast. And again, I'm just kind of building the layers. Backgrounds can be anything you want. And when you're doing a solid background like this, they really do take forever. And they take a lot out of your Prismacolor pencils. So a lot of people don't like to use their Prismas for doing solid backgrounds. But these are small in comparison to doing a large background. But if you're going to use Prismas and you're going to do backgrounds, get used to it because Prismas will wear down fast. It's just part of how Prismacolors work. They're an ultra soft pencil. They are not designed to last forever. If you want to use different pencils for backgrounds, try, again, I'll bring it up, using the Scholars or the junior sets to do your backgrounds. They are a harder pencil. They do lay down very differently than the Premiers. So get used to using them. But they do offer a different, I guess, a different level of hardness to them than the Premiers. They're very different. They are junior. So I don't care what level of artist you are. They take a learning curve if you're used to using Premiers. They're not as soft. So they're not going to lay down the same. They're going to be very different. And it will take a different technique to blend them. So you're going to want to have to figure that out and practice a little bit. But you can do it. And they're a little less expensive, but they don't sell them that I've ever seen as open stock. So that's kind of up to you if you go that route to use the less expensive ones on backgrounds. Get in here a little bit more. Okay. Excuse me. Now I'm going to take my 921. I'm just going to work this area up here a little bit just to kind of show you. So right in here where I put that 926, I'm blending that color together. See how it's just changing it just a little bit, ever so slightly. But I didn't go super heavy with that color. So it's given it just enough of that, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? I've got like a, I don't want to say tropical sunset vibe because it's not. It's like a It's just a really cool blend. I don't know what to call it. But it's that hue of red and pink and like a salmon coral orange together. And it is really going to take you a while to build up this blend and get all the way to your edge with it. You're just going to have to keep repeating. But that's why I like to do it in sections. Because as you build up your layer, you're going to get that nice seamless blend as you pull those colors out and up into your white section. And you'll see, you'll go from that vibrant pink to this vibrant coral orange. But again, it's up to you, whatever you want to do for your background. I just thought, after all the colors I played with, this one seemed to go the best with the colors I chose for the leaves and the berries. But work your background, work it slowly, work it in sections, and you will eventually burnish the page just by doing light, small, slow layers. And again, it will take a lot out of your Prismacolors, but you can also leave the backgrounds white if you want. I just didn't want to leave my bookmarks white because, again, I want to laminate these. So I got that really cool laminating machine on Amazon. Oops, I got a little dark color in there. See, that happens. I must have got some of that green or blue transferred. I should have erased. I didn't erase before I started doing my background, which I should have done that because I had all that color transfer. Probably should have mentioned that, huh? Okay, so now you can see what's going on here just in that little section I've done. I'm just blending, 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 just working that same little section over and over. I know it's like a repeat broken record. And believe it or not, even though you're not using heavy pressure, the constant movement of doing this, you can get some hand fatigue. I sometimes get wrist fatigue. My hand don't necessarily get tired, but I need to take breaks because my wrist will get tired of the constant circle movements. It's like, wow, it's a lot. After sitting here for an hour doing this, it's like, holy moly, I need a 10-minute break. But you can see how it's coming along now. How those two colors, you can get a nice seamless blend. Let me get up here on this edge. And you can really get those two colors to work together beautifully. Now, you could do a 3-color blend easy enough. You can still see Gretel's scratch marks in my papers. Like, ugh, she's always got to get on everything. Okay, so I just did that little section just to show you, but you could easily add a 3rd color. You can add a yellow. You can add that bright, what color is that, 1003 or 1002, or jump right to your canary yellow. You can add that in there. That would really be like a sunset color. So like do a 3-level color all the way out. That would be really cool. So you could do that, but I'm going to keep working these 2 colors. I'm going to keep working my blend. And again, I'm just going to work them in sections and blending them outward. Again, I'm not going to do real heavy on this pink because I want, again, I want that seamless blend. I want the colors to come together flawlessly. I don't want a sharp line anywhere. So if you notice, like, you could kind of see where I've got a line here and then it's lighter. Just keep working it until you have a nice light transition. Because if you don't have that light transition to start with, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to get your line to transition smoothly. I mean, it can still be done. You're just going to find that you're going to have to work a little harder to blend that out. And it's easier if you just keep your lines transitioning smoothly. So I'm going to add just a little color here on the edge. There. So I'm going to bring it out just a little bit more. Give it just a little more room to fade itself out. So have a little more of a transition. Okay. I'm going to keep working this. I want you to keep working yours. I'll come back in just a few minutes. Maybe when I get midpoint, we'll do some more together. Be the magic of the camera. I won't skip all the way to the bottom. I'll come back and do some more with you. I got to take a break though. Okay. So welcome back in the magic of video. This is what you should be seeing if you did your blend really well. We are at the very bottom here and we are just going to finish this little bit off. So as you can see, I'm just carrying out with my 921. I know I skipped quite a bit ahead, but I don't think I need to give you a lesson in how to mix two colors together. You should have been able to go over those very easily. But the point of me showing you this is because I wanted you to see the two color blends as it comes out very nicely and your finishing tone that you should get when you get them all blended together. So your final product should basically look like that. It should have that nice, vibrant sunset orange color, but with that hint of pink underneath. Now, for some finishing touches, you can take your 1099, your espresso, but please finish your background first because it's really important. That's going to be key before you put these finishing touches on. Your 1099, this is going to take some time as well. Let me zoom in here for you. I have not fully burnished my page, so keep that in mind as you're viewing this. I'm getting a little bit of a reflection here. Anyways, so what you're going to want to do is if you want to really highlight these leaves, is you're going to gently take your 1099 and you're going to follow along that leaf like we did on the previous images. Just outline that very gently. Don't do a thick, heavy line. Just keep consistent with the dark lines that are already there. So all you're doing is just gently gliding your pencil over those lines. So what that's going to do, is going to highlight them. So as you'll see here, I'm just running my pencil right over top. I'm not doing anything fancy, and I'm sticking straight to the outside of that line. Now, you absolutely don't have to do this step, but again, I'm going to laminate these. So I want this inside image to really pop off the page. And when I was applying my color, some of my lines got a little faded. So you see how that really makes that just stand out just a little bit more with that bright colored background. So when you get down here to your berries, you can do the same thing, but stick with only your outer lines with this dark brown. And you can go around where the leaf touches the berry here using that dark color. Be very careful that you're not going inside the leaf though, because that'll make it look a little weird. It'll get a little confusing with the lines in the vein that you've already gone over. And if your lines get too thick, it could make it look really weird too. Then you'll want to do the whole entire page to make it look very consistent. So you see what I've done there? I haven't changed anything. I haven't gone over the inside image. I've strictly stuck to the outer image here. Now, again, I'm just going to go around this berry. You can do your stems as well as if you want, but for the berries, I've grabbed my 950, my gold, because we have those little fine hairs again. Now, I'm putting those little dashes on those hairs on the outside. That gold really does stand up against that orange. I'm not using a dark brown. I'm not using a black. I am using that gold. One, it's not going to add a lot of shimmer. It's just going to add a touch, a very ever so slight touch. And it's just the right amount of brown against that orange backdrop. And you're not going to overwhelm the page by putting those little dashes in there. And again, you don't have to do these little hairs. That's completely up to you. But I think it gives a little more character back to the fruit that the artist actually put in there. So I think it makes it really stand out. So you can finish your berries and your leaves and your outlines and really make that page pop out like that. So when your finished product should pop off the page, you'll see your background, but your focal point will be this inside image. And that's really what you're going for. You want to see that bright contrast in the background, but you want to see those really pop-in colors in the center with all your detail work. And you see those subtle shades and differences in the middle of your image. So if you do decide to laminate your page, let me zoom out just a hair for you. And you can see all four of them together. I do have to finish my little bit down here and some of my detail work. But now you can see all of them together. Move my big fat hand out of your way. So this is what they all look like together. So when you're done, you can laminate them and you can cut them out, give them away if you like. But you see how each image, you can really see the berries in the picture pops off the page with the colors that you chose as your background. That's kind of what you want to see. You want the berries to really stand out and say, hey, this is the focal point of the picture. Anyways, I'm glad you guys joined me. Thank you for following along. And I will get this video up and I look forward to doing the next one with you. Happy creating, you guys. Thanks for watching.